Blazing high, we are burning it up. We played this, some R. Kelly right there. But when you get to the States, his music was banned. It's no longer played like anymore. They are like mute R. Kelly, and it happened. But guess what? He's going to be incarcerated for 30 years. We are not sure if he's going to come out or he's going to, because it's really too much. More cases that keep on coming and piling and piling. I definitely have to go broke. Okay. On the show tonight, just like I had promised you, I do have a comedian, I do have an entrepreneur, I do have a media personality, I do have a legend. But officially, let me introduce Pablo Chimuli on the show.
Humble to be here.
Man.
Yes.
Man, glad to see you.
The pleasure is mine.
Well,
if you're watching the show, thank you for choosing to watch SEETV. Don't blink. We are the real deal. Kashogi them agwan. Don't break them, wreck them, or mess them, bless them, make them, love them. Because we are in the booth.
What did you say?
Everything about nothing.
Okay, Pablo, I don't know where we are going to start from, but I think
we'll start from the beginning.
For sure, let's start from the beginning. Just like any other legendary, we try to profile legends each and every single Wednesday, and of course, we inspire you with some of the things that they've done for the industry, so that you can borrow and live. You keep humble, because most of the legends that we do bring here are so humble, yet they have a lot that they have done. These are not the kind of people. They are so down to earth. So I think let's start. Should we start with the journalism career?
That part of journalism. Wow. Well, some people, because some people don't believe that actually I studied journalism. When I graduated with a degree in mass media. Before
we get to the graduation bit of it, let me first of all share my story about journalism. At the time I wanted to do journalism, like at home, everyone was like, "Yo, you are not going to do this because." No one is going to give you a job. How many TV stations are in Kampala? How many TV stations are in Uganda? Where are you going to work? Because they believe for you to be successful, you have to be, maybe a lawyer, maybe an engineer, maybe a doctor. Were your parents like that, or they were straight up?
My parents were open-minded. They didn't mind what you'd want to study. So my dream I always wanted to be a journalism, right from when I was young. I used to watch. By then Uganda had only one television, and so it would start from 6 and end at midnight.
That was UBC.
Then it was UTV.
Yeah.
So. And I loved the news anchors. I loved the way they did their stuff. And I always wanted to become one. So even when I was studying, up to when I was going to campus, I missed getting government. And they told me to do BCom external. Man, me and figures are enemies. Sometimes I can't even figure out what I'm doing, Why should you find X? Do you know what X has done to people? So then I said, no way. I said, I have to do journalism, if it means doing it in private. So I ended up doing journalism because I had a passion for it. Now, in regard to jobs, the time I graduated, at the time, because I was really, really passionate about print media. And so I got to the monitors looking for a job. And my cousin, Richard Kaganda, had recommended me because he knew someone there who...
It was Gambano kind of a thing.
Like somebody had studied with. And then when I reached there, they looked at me and said, so in my CV, they found out that I'd been to Namasagali. They said, this must be entertaining people. So they took me to the entertainment desk. And I found a lady there called Evelyn Musamura Kiapi and Moses Serugo. And so they helped me. They said, "No, okay." They showed me how you can deal with this kind of stuff, how to write because I was freelancing. And then they said, if you want news, entertainment news, you have to go to theaters. Go to the National Theatre, go to Theatre Exclesia, go to Pride Theatre. It's deceased. I think it's... So I used to go to different theaters, and then in the evenings they would say there are karaoke's, you go and cover karaoke's. And that's how I ended up picking a passion in the arts, because I'd structured my week that every Monday I would go to the National Theatre because they had a musicians club. Now that's where you'd meet all these artists. They would come, and sing, the likes of late Eli Wamala, Jimmy Katumba. We had an opportunity to see them. You'd find the guys of the Big Five band. There was the late Ekodele, there was Sesanga, Julie, and these are people that we only used to listen to on compact.
You're speaking in tongues now.
Yes.
You're speaking in tongues for me.
So, yes, actually, that time, you'd go to the National Theatre, and I'll never forget the day Loketo Lee, was called Loketo Lee, he was a musician.
Loketo Lee, at least I know that one.
He brought his music, and he wanted it to be played on one of the TVs that were on East Africa. And they told him, you won't survive.
Was it East African TV?
Yeah. But then somehow the guys were laughing at him, then he became a star. I think now he joined the army.
Hey.
But we had an opportunity to see.
Some people are leaving the army to join entertainment. He left entertainment for the army. How bad was entertainment?
I'll tell you, those days, guys who used to come to the theater, Clever J, guys, you would never think that they would ever break through. People like this guy sings
Coco Finger. I get you.
So we used to go and cover those mini concerts, and the likes of Ragadi would come in, and then that's how I got to meet the likes of Philip Luswata, who were then starting comedy. They were starting a comedy outfit called Theatre Factory.
At least now.
Yeah.
At least now we are home.
Yes. So now that is the first part of this century, the beginning of this century, you know. That's when we had people now interested in not only music, but comedy. Because what happened actually, how it all started, if I recall very well, and maybe my friends can correct me if I go wrong. We used to go to the musicians club, and the likes of Philip Luswata.
What was the musicians club like by the time?
By then it was, people used to just come on Monday to sing. So it was called a jam session. What they meant, they would put a mic there.
I get you. The jam session that was at
National Theatre.
Okay.
And so everyday people, ordinary people, would come and sing.
What happened to those
for the
kids
stars? Now? Well, I think things change. We are now on WhatsApp. Yes. So people used to sing. I remember even me once upon a time, I went there and sang. I sang,
that was
off key. It was really off key. That's when it had just come. And so these artists used to listen to ordinary people singing their songs. That was the idea. And so it was, we were jamming with them. Then once in a while, they would come in and sing. And so after that, like on Tuesdays, people would come and sit and just have conversations. So Philip Luswata then was a lecturer at Makerere University, and he had his students, Bujingo, Richard Tuwanje, yes, Farouk, there was Musa, Chiwanu Kanamanda, Nina Katamba, and so they wanted to start a comedy outfit. They said, can't we tell these stories? Why are we selfish with these stories, just having them in the musicians club? Why don't we put them on stage? And voila, they say, let's go and do this. So as a journalist, I go back to the Daily Monitor, and I tell the editor that, you know what, there's a group that is starting comedy. And so she tells me, what you need to do, follow the story and, get it. Grab it, get the carrot. It's called the carrot. So, yes.
Content.
Get it. So I wrote the story, I brought it back. She said, no, there's something missing. There's still, make sure you understand what is the heart of the matter. Why? Where is the why? Why should we run this story? Now, in the process of finding the why, I ended up joining the troupe.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So before we get you to the joining bit of it, let's talk about Pablo Chimuli as a practicing journalist at the days of Power FM. Power FM. Then we talk of Rock Point. Right, the Rock Point was one of my best skits that was on radio by the time. I was still in Imbara by the time. Let's talk about that.
Oh yes, actually, I also happened to write for a newspaper that lasted 6 months. It was called The Vanguard. I think it stopped in Kampala. It was 6 months.
Pablo,
6 months. So
wajikola chi newspaper. If it was a bad, aligameti wajinywa.
Yeah, it was started by a gentleman called Taremwa. I think he was with the Electoral Commission once upon a time, but left. So that one died. But I remember I joined Power FM in 2004. Now, how I joined it was very funny. A friend of mine called Julius Anwari used to come and watch Theatre Factory. And he was a friend to the producers there. And he said, there's this funny guy. Why don't we do, it was called Mental Clinic, like a comic strip. And so we started doing the comic strip called Mental Clinic. And then the producer falls in love with the production. And then they say, but this guy, can't he do a show? But because they didn't know us that much, so they give me a show with a lady called Kachunjira Nancy. She's now on BBC.
Yeah.
So Nancy and I used to do a Saturday show on Power FM. Yeah, it was called I've forgotten the name of the show.
It's really like way back. It's a whole story.
We used to do the show, and our tagline was everything about nothing. So Omanyishonga Taina Mulamwa.
So you guys just could come up and
yes.
like you talk.
And then, like you and we used to say you listen to it at your own risk. So basically, but before we knew it, Ipsos, which is when the records came, our show was hitting more on a Saturday. So they decided to switch us to the morning show, the flag show.
Yeah.
And we are joined by a gentleman called Mark Sade.
Did you really wake up?
I tell
Morning
you,
shows are not easy.
Tough. The first time, it was tough. So I started doing the morning show with Nancy, and then later Max came in. Then we had Ben Mwine, Rachel Arinitwe, Sophie Aniku. They kept it was how radios work. They keep changing. Some of us were the constant until the constant factor also left. Now, how do I go into Rock Point, what you had mentioned? So in 2004, same year.
I used to listen to that every Saturday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So introduced a radio drama called Rock Point
256.
So I was brought on as an actor. I used to act as Robert, one of the characters.
Robert was a bad guy.
Bad guy, yeah. So, but he was a transitional character from bad to good. So I was brought on to act. But in the process, they needed somebody who could adopt the English script to the 4 R's. That is Runyankwere, Ruchiga, Runyoro, and Rutoro.
Did you do all that?
Yes. So the productions director said, but there's this guy who does, because I used to do 3 roles. I used to act English as Robert, then I would act as Alphonse in Runyakitara, and then go to Luganda and do the Fisherman Lawrence. I was looking for supper. Multitasking. It was like Panado 1 times 3.
Okay.
And then this lady was Deborah Asimwe, who was the productions director at the time, says, but there's this guy who speaks all these languages. Can he translate? So I was brought on board to translate the English, to adopt it to the local languages. And that's how I started doing Rock Point. And then Deborah needed to go for further studies. And they needed somebody who understood the languages, because we used to do 4 R's, English, Luganda, Luo, and Ateso. Now they needed an all-rounder who could easily work with this. And so they advertised, they couldn't find someone until they said, but look here, there's this guy here, Pablo. Why can't he just come on and do this stuff, since he knows the 4 R's, understands Ateso, bits and pieces. And the Luo, I had challenges with it, but you speak Ateso, I will understand everything.
That language is not easy to really understand. And
it's easy, by the way, if you pay attention to it. Yeah, it's about the syllables, and it's very interesting if you stay with them for some time. I used to have them as neighbors, and one of my in-laws is from that space. Actually, my other name in Tesoland is Aturot.
Okay. So where did you get that? Anyway, we shall get there as well.
So we start doing Rock Point. They get me on board as the productions director. Now my job was to oversee all the different productions of the radio.
But were you experienced, or you were like in the no
I was
supper?
learning on the job. Actually, what they did, I had to do a course with the British Council on public speaking, and then I also had to go and read about radio drama production and do short courses as well. So I was on the job, learning on the job. We had expatriates who were brought in. They brought in, one was called John Ribber and Andrew Whaley, the gentleman who wrote Yellow Card and The Consequences, one of those old movies, Consequences. They used to show it on Christmas. Way back. So they're the ones who mentored me into the system of writing for radio. And yeah, that's how I end up in Rock Point.
After Rock Point, then you officially joined comedy?
Actually, I was planting 2 trees with one seed. One thing led me to another.
2 trees with one seed?
Yeah. This is how it happened.
Okay.
Because I used to perform with Theatre Factory. And they were extremely professional and strict. If you didn't rehearse on Monday and Tuesday, you don't step on stage on Wednesday.
Okay.
So because I started working with Young, Empowered and Healthy, I didn't have time to go and rehearse. So I was relegated to the next division. I couldn't act. But I had created... Yes. I had created an understandable following. People who they kept asking themselves, who is this Rukandema man? My first nickname was Rukandema.
Rukandema?
Rukandema.
You translate that one for...
Rukandema means I failed. So why I was called that, I acted a skit where I was Rukandema, a man from Bushenyi who came to a bar and saw people asking for drinks, and they would mention a name. They would say John Walker, Gilbez, and and me, I thought that you come and mention your name and they give you a drink. So I said Rukandema John, and the guys laughed at me, and that was the first nickname. So because I wasn't acting then, people said, but where is the Rukandema go? Now, remember, that's the time I just joined Power FM vis-a-vis Rock Point. Now, when I reached Power FM, the lady who was the productions director at the time...
Rukandema is a hard one.
Yes. Didn't like my name, Kenneth. My original, my first name, Kenneth. So she said, we are going to give you another name. And so I said, whatever name you give me, we will go with it. So she gave me Pablo.
Did you look like a drug dealer or something?
Actually, I found out. I asked her, why did you give me this name? And she said, I'm reading this novel. She was reading a novel, and it had a Pablo in it, one of the characters. And she said it sounded funky, more lively. And so she gave me the name Pablo. So I would go on air and go, yo.
My name is Pablo.
This is yours truly, Pablo Bangabe Oko Yit Mere Mere, the only Muchiga from Pakwach. One thing's for sure, my mother's son, whether you like it or yes. And so people used to watch us at the National Theatre and listen to Power FM. Said, but you sound like Pablo. I said, yeah, I'm the guy who does Pablo. Said, oh, you're Pablo. So that's how I end up getting the name. So wait, Pablo.
You had 2 characters, the Pablo on radio, then Rukandema of...
Yes, at the theatre, they knew me as Rukandema. But with time, people now put the voice to the face. They said, but wait a minute, the Pablo sounds like, are you the guy? I said, yeah, I'm the guy. Okay. So and so they also started writing about it. They said, this guy has come out from nowhere. And yeah, that's how the name Pablo came up.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I don't know how we can take you for a commercial break, but I think we should sing for them.
The time is coming, you shall hear the kidding.
No, there's another one. Last Tony Wichi, the builder house, rejected.
Oh, that's Tony Wichi.
That's Tony Wichi, the builder house, rejected. Yona stomach a fishy. Yona sile put 3 days in no food. Yona
stomach a fishy. Yona
kiraidi. Ladies and gentlemen, we take you down for a commercial break. We'll be back shortly. Still chilling with the one and only Pablo. The fun is here today. Just like we do it on our Wednesday, we chill with the legends. We get to profile them, we get to know them, and we get to have a good time. And that is right on television. J Banks Force is my name. We'll be back shortly. For those people that were in the hands of Pablo.
I do believe, well, it's God's grace.
Have you received those flowers, Pablo?
Well, I don't know. My name is Flower, so I have one all the time.
Okay.
Yes, and happy birthday to all those who are celebrating their birthdays. Do you know that statistics have proven that those who have more birthdays live longer?
More birthdays.
Yeah.
So you're trying to put the Slay Queens of Kampala in one basket because they don't celebrate once a year. At least twice. Or
symptoms persist.
You seek the medical advice.
Yeah, if you see an opportunity, then you create a birthday.
I get you. I get you. So let's first rewind it back a little bit.
Yes.
This time you're like, Pablo is a comedian.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
what was running in your head? What had you smoked that day?
Honestly, truthfully speaking, I didn't intend to become a stand-up comedian. This is what happened. Because I used not to rehearse every day. The audience said, but let Rukandema, let Pablo come back and maybe just give us a joke or two. So what Philip Luswata did, he said every time we were transitioning from one skit to another, I could come in and do like the MC's work. So because I was working on radio, I would read the newspapers every morning and look at the lighter side of the news. So when on Thursday, I would come with enough stories. And so during that segment, every time we were transitioning,
you are the punchline guy.
I would come in and do like 3, jokes as they are getting set to switch to another skit. When they are ready, they tell me. So with time, people started picking interest in the MC. Yeah. So that's when we started doing a show called Barbed Wire, and they said, okay, what you're going to do now, since we can't film all those short segments, just make it one.
Barbed Wire was at WBS?
No, it was on NTV.
Okay.
It came on NTV at that time. And so we started doing Barbed Wire. And so I started doing, to me, I thought I was doing a recap of the weekly news, like a weekly news roundup, but with a comic twist. But before I knew it, it became a big deal. And guys said to me, dude, you're a stand-up comedian. I said, okay, now I'm a comedian.
Hold up, listen.
Okay. So I went online and I started watching the Dave Chappelle's. I started watching Steve Harvey. When I was young, I used to watch the Cosby Show. Kids say the dandiest things. And so it had never occurred to me that it had a comic intention. I thought he was just a funny guy. And so that's when I picked interest in learning, you mean there's such a thing called stand-up comedy. And then I found there were even Africans, the likes of Basket Mouth, and I started watching what they
Basket Mouth was there by the time?
Yeah.
That guy still looks fresh.
That guy,
just like you.
That guy was performing before the dead sick died. It was still sick.
What?
So, he has been around. So, and I said he had just released an act which had gone viral, where I was saying there are two things that kind of. So I found it interesting, and so that was now fast forward to 2009. Meanwhile, at this time, I think I was doing stand-up comedy, and there's a gentleman called Isaac Kudu. Isaac Kudu.
Yes. I know that guy.
Isaac Kudu was one of the people I had really started with. But I think along the way, he got bored, sometimes you go on stage and there's what we call dying. Man, if you die on stage, you need the courage to come back. Dying on stage is when you go on stage and you're not funny. You are more annoying than entertaining. People look at you and wonder.
I didn't want to laugh, trust me. I never.
They look at you
because it's not nice. It's a bad experience.
Yes. I died in 2005, my first experience. The first time I died, 2005, I came. In my head, I had the stories of rats, how to kill rats. The 5 ways of killing a rat. Now, I thought it was 5.
Go ino butwa, oina akamesu, oina buli kimu. Oina ekitabu. Bakatemese bikubiye.
I told them the first joke. You see, if you want to kill a rat, get posho, put it there next to, mix it with cement. The rat will come and eat, and then it will get thirsty, drink water, and form a brick in the stomach. The way you are, that's how everybody was.
Everyone was surprised.
Nobody laughed. I said, what's happening? I said, okay, add Piriton in the water so that the rat can sleep. The way nobody laughed. So in my head I was thinking, are these people related to rats? What's happening? I'm telling you, I walked off that stage.
You felt so cold.
It was quiet. People were silent. You could even hear a pin drop. I went backstage and I found my fellow comedians. One of the director of the day told me, Pablo, this is comedy, not tragedy.
So you had caused a tragedy.
I sat down. I said, what brought me to Kampala? I felt hated.
You were over Kampala.
Allah! Kampala. My journey from Kampala. Before I came to Kampala, I was in Kampala. That's how it started.
Okay.
Yes, I was the first 10 years of my life I was in Kampala. Until my dad died, I started my journey. It was urban-rural migration. They took me to Mbarara, my maternal uncle, to a school called Boma.
Boma, I know the school.
Yeah, when I reached Boma, there was I'll never forget a teacher called Teacher Brown. I'll never forget that man. I had my shoes. The man told me, tomorrow don't come with these shoes. I said, why? The headmaster was called Julius. He said, if you wear shoes, what will headmaster Julius do?
Wait.
So I was introduced to Futsubishi RAV2. I started measuring the temperature. Now from there, I jumped from the frying pan to the fire. Now connected to Bushenyi. I went to Bweranyanji Primary School. So it was urban rural migration.
Bweranyanji is a girls' school.
There's a primary which is mixed.
But then I was going to ask different questions.
Yeah, but because then I went to, I'll never forget the time I went to, there was, should I call it like a nursery school? And it was called Korwiz Nursery School. And there, because by then my Runyankole was undecided.
It wasn't Runyankole.
I was speaking Luganda. I came from Kampala speaking Luganda and English, but I had to adopt. So they had a subject called Yego Remerwawe, which means learn your language. The teacher was called Ganyogana. The teaching us Runyankole. Yana ye, sana nasu, yesu. Allah. So by the time I came back, so now I had first to go there, then it's not like a U-turn to come back to Kampala. Went to Mbara High School for 6 years, Mugumena Mani. Proud of that school, made me what I am today. So that's how I came back to Kampala.
All right, let's talk about it. To stage.
So I died. Now, when I died, Bujingo Hannington was the director of the day, and there was still some time remaining. For
some reason, you comedians, you don't grow up. The stories you are telling me, but you guys still look nice.
We're like kindergarten teachers. Actually, they say that it takes less muscles to smile than to frown. So if you're always smiling, chances are, it reduces. So he tells me, Pablo, do you have a joke? I said, you man, I've just died. Do you want me to die twice like Chaco?
What year was it?
That was 2005.
I was in P4. I was in P3, yeah. Go on, stage of
you were there singing, we younger we, men of Uganda. So he tells me, you can do it. Go back on stage. We still have time.
Did you have anything in your head by that time?
No, that was the time of Temangalo. When NSSF had issues with the Temangalo, what. So I had to come up with a joke immediately. So I come on stage and I say, Temangalo is here. NSSF means Naria Sente Sagara Fitina. People
That was a punchline.
People laughed. I said, Now that I said, now I wish I had ended with this, but I had started with the punchline. So basically, that day I had issues. So I said, now imagine if politicians were pastors. How would it be? Imagine if Vesje was a politician or a pastor. If Andrew Mwenda was a pastor. If Museveni was a pastor, how would it be? So I started imitating them. Imagine Andrew Mwenda as a pastor. For God, of the word said, like, because he thinks faster than he thinks. And he speaks faster than he thinks.
Yeah.
So he would go like, focus on what said, the service would just 20 minutes. So I had to come in and imitate all of them. You know, President Museveni would come and say, "This is not a mere change of culture. It's a religious change. It's a fundamental change. We shall have Holy Communion. Everyone will have a bottle of milk." So I started imitating them. And I came and said, if it was the best, just stand agenda, one people, one Jesus. As soon as people laughed, I left the stage. That's how
you left a man.
I resurrected. But with time, I went on and died again like 4 times. But we are still here. Yeah, you die. We see the thing about comedy. When you die on stage, go back and do a post-mortem. Ask yourself, what killed me?
What went what?
Is it what went wrong? Is it the setup of the jokes? Is it the audience? Maybe the audience didn't understand what I was saying. Because sometimes you might go with a joke and it's high end, or you might find the audience doesn't understand what you're talking about. It's like talking physics to a border rider who didn't go beyond why is Murife running? So, but if you come and start telling them about the coup in Gabon or something,
mubuze ku chaibole ekibaddeko leero agenda kuwa ensonga nga 10 zonna nga
so you have to understand your audience, your target audience. So sometimes what kills you might not necessarily be you, but the circumstances surrounding you. So you do a post-mortem, come back. That's why they say a comedian is as good as their last performance. Yeah. So if you want to be a stand-up comedian out there, know that part of the occupation hazards is death.
Okay.
You die on stage. Or sometimes they might have expectations. Like I went to South Sudan. For example, that day after that show, I wanted to leave comedy.
You wanted to
retire? I went to South Sudan. They told them Pablo is coming.
Everyone was waiting for Pablo.
I think they went and did homework. They watched my YouTube. They went to Pablo Comedian Uganda. They watched everything. I think they even did prep. Now me, Pablo, I go to South Sudan and I want to be relevant. I start reading about South Sudan, Salva Kiir, Riek Machar. I remember those guys are told. Everybody is told. Even when you go to the airport, the counters are told, I reached the counter, the person, they said, next, they kept pointing at the person behind me. They said, there's somebody here. So basically, those guys, I go to South Sudan, and me, I'm trying to be relevant. I come, I crack the first joke. The guys are laughing in installments. The second one, I say, what's happening? I cry. I tried it. Bazungu were laughing. They were rolling. But the indigenous people were I said, what is happening here? Then I said, thank you so much. That's my time. One guy said, no, Pablo, there are some jokes you have not told us. I said, hey, there are some jokes.
So they wanted you to redo some jokes.
The guy said, there's a joke about short people you've not told us. There's this joke, and the guy told me the joke the way it is on YouTube from beginning to end. I said, you tell us that one. I said, but you have just said the joke. The man said, I say you say. And when a dark person gets angry, they start becoming blue. It's like testing for iodine. You become black. So, I thought the guy was joking. The problem. What I came running mading. Came and said, Pablo, you crack the joke. That one is a general. He will shoot you. I jumped.
You went straight.
I went straight to the joke. I started cracking. The man laughed. even at some point he corrected me. He said, Pablo, there's this part of gravity you've left out. I said it, the man laughed. Then after he asked the son, is that the joke you wanted? The son said, no, there's another one of NGO. The show, which was meant to be 1 hour, took 2 hours and 25 minutes.
Telling jokes that everyone knows.
And Muri take. They would put up hand and say, yeah, me, now this one. I said, these are some of the occupational hazards.
That day was a nightmare for you.
In my life, I'd never known that in comedy there's a request hour for jokes. I thought it was only for music. They were killing me in installments.
Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to heal. I don't know if you guys out there need to heal as well, but let's get down for a musical break. When we return, it is more of Pablo. We are talking about Pablo, the media personality. When we return, how did he win, the accolades of being the best media personality like you? Those are some of the things that we are going to be talking about, and talking about the journey, the experiences that he's been through, and how it is right now in the industry. We'll be back shortly. This is The Booth. My name is Jay Vance Foss. A brand new song, of course, featuring Ira Star. It is called Bloody Samaritan. Right there. Sean Paul, by the way, today I was watching some interview, and I had Sean Paul is featuring Big Trail, is featuring a couple of people on a project Party After Party. A beautiful one right there. I just can't wait for this one to get released. There's a Cardi B on that one. Then there's a couple of people right there. I definitely can't wait for this. But we've been waiting for some Ratata collaboration with Sean Paul. Up to now, we've not, seen it. But let's just give those projects a time, and we see how they do come. Big shout out to you, Ring Rapper. He has a brand new song. And of course, we shall be playing that one tomorrow on the show. Still chilling with Pablo. The man with the vibe.
Oh, go on, man. Jack Rasta fried rice and Celesta ate it.
Yeah, don't know. Okay. All right. Big shout out to Neo. Neo is not doing so well, but he sent me some people, and he's like, these are the people that have been there for him. And he's like, I sent some shout outs to him. There's a Nabuko Diana. There's a producer, Abdallah. Neo has sent you a shout out. Adams Mayambala. There's Isma and Mama Nadia down in Chira. A big shout out to you guys. And of course, thanks for tuning in each and every single day. Big shout out to you, being to you, catching the show as well. We do love you so very much. Okay? Katika today, let's first get back.
Yeah, sure.
So what happens after the show?
After the show, people were excited. We leave South Sudan. I come back to Uganda, and I say, wow, I need to count my blessings one by one. And yeah, so here we are.
What are some of the shows as, let's try to wind up Aliko.
Yeah, sure.
Aliko. What are some of the shows that you did, they were memorable and you'll never forget, such shows?
Wow, that's, well, I should say, we did a tour in 2015 in Canada, and it was an amazing tour. We went with Anne, and it was a whoosh, the love that was there, And we also had another show in 2011. Actually, it went viral. It was called Night of 1,000 Laughs. That was also one of the shows I really liked. And booked in the country, outside the country. Use the plane like a boda. Yango tugende. Choose a passport. So I think for me, also here at home, for me, it's interesting that different shows, when we did Comedy Meets Music, our first concert, when we did Comedy Meets Music, it was awesome in 2013. But for me, the one that I really loved was in 2018, when I did 15 Years of Laughter with Pablo. Yes, I think for me that was one of the best to me, because we gave the platform.
15 years,
15 years of laughter, and I had 15 comedians performing, of which they were all Ugandan comedians. So for me, I felt that we were setting the right precedence and creating space for the those that will hold the mantle once we are out of it, you know. And for me, it was very passionate. I had an emotional attachment to it. Seeing these comedians that we had in mentorship coming up and working the crowds, and I can't believe that next year it will be 20 years of laughter.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really fun. I had a great time.
All right, so, as we are, the issue here to do so, we together. So who are some of the people that you started with this kind of comedy? Because I understand it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy one.
Yeah, I think for me, kudos to Philip Luswata, who came up with the idea of starting a sketch comedy group, starting Theatre Factory. Well, there were performers before, like Amarula family, where...
What was Amarula
doing
exactly?
They were doing sketch comedy in Luganda, and it was a template that they got from the Ridiculous from Kenya.
Lindako, you're the first stand-up comedian in Uganda?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to hold the first stand-up comedian in Uganda. Wow!
Yes, the first stand-up commercial. Yeah, because there are some people who had been doing it but didn't know they were doing it.
This question is kind of personal.
Yeah.
Right here in Uganda, we do things because someone has done something and they have achieved. Where did you get those things that I don't want to mention that propelled you to the comedy industry? And you're like, yo, let me do it. It's me that is in the game. I'm alone. And I hope to make it.
Well, like I had earlier mentioned, it wasn't intentional. You know how we started. I mean, as a journalist trying to make people laugh. But when I understood how it works out, because in 2007, I was privileged and honored to go to the Sundance Theatre Lab in Salt Lake City, Utah. And while there, I was humbled by the different theater practitioners I found there, especially comedians, the way they researched, the way they also showed me that comedy has a structure. It's not about just waking up one day and you start cracking jokes and it has to have a structure. There has to be form. They took me through how it works. And when I met those guys, I mean, these are celebrated theater practitioners. Some of them have now branched into movie. The likes of Brown Jr. Brown Jr. He now works in War Wives and what? Starling Brown Jr. Those are the guys who said, you know what? Comedy is a funny way of being serious. You have to be serious with this craft.
Because, you get serious behind the scenes. Because that is how you get content and the content you're going to display to the people to make money.
That's why I tell people that there are two people. There is Kenneth Chimuli and there is Pablo. Now, Kenneth Chimuli is the personality that does show prep for Pablo. Pablo is the one you see on stage. Now, Kenneth Chimuli has to be extremely serious while researching content for Pablo. Because if Pablo dies on stage, Kenneth Chimuli has nothing to take home. Yeah. So I became intentional. And if a person comes to me and they want to be mentored and they want to do it the way I do it, I also have my terms and conditions, I'll tell you that this is how we want to do it. We have, comedy should be a vehicle of information, educative. If you crack a joke, what is in for the consumer? Is it just for laughs? Or is it message oriented? So you have to draw the line. If you know it's just for laughs, then get jokes that are just for laughs. But if it's a commissioned work, for example, it's about reproductive health, or it's about politics, or it's about agriculture. And you come with your rat comedy. Yes, you have to be, you have to be extremely intentional.
I get you. So where do these people, with the people of Alex Muhanji, Salvador Idringi, when do those start and where do they come from?
Yes, so in 2009, there were MultiChoice comes to Uganda. MultiChoice, they were doing stand-up. They did stand-up Zambia, then they did stand-up, I think, South Africa. So they were doing stand-up Uganda. Now, MultiChoice was looking for the funniest people. And that's why they were doing a competition called stand-up. They did stand-up Uganda after doing stand-up Zambia. And so they put out a call in 2009. So that's how the Alex Mhanji, Salvador, Emma Sebachije, Cam, Teacher Mpamire. Teacher Mpamire had been around doing them 7 acts with Alex Mukulu's plays. But this was a platform for them now to identify as comedians. So the Stand Up Uganda was the springboard of their success, the introduction of Daniel O'Mara, all those. They came in 2009 as stand-up comedians.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's a beautiful, people like Daniel O'Mara, one of the people that are so humble. I've met that one as well. Very humble.
Yeah, Daniel has an old head on young shoulders. I love him because he can crack a joke and you'll laugh tomorrow. You'll go and think about it, He's intelligent, extremely intelligent.
Okay. So, Pablo, how is comedy now? How do you compare comedy now and comedy before?
I think in Uganda it has really grown. It's arguably one of the fast-growing industries, I should say, because we are still in our teenage. If we started in 2004, that means that 2023 will just be 20 years old, we're just graduating into, and also when I look at how it has evolved, I remember our first pay was a silver platter of rice, we went and performed at TLC. But now comedians have red cards. So that shows that it has really grown. Now, it also has its challenges, I should say. The strength is that the comedians are working together. We have an association.
I think I like
Uganda
that.
Comedians Association. With just a few weaknesses in there. The weakness, I should say, for me, the main weakness we have is we have failed to define what qualifies somebody to be a comedian. Yeah. So we don't have a regulatory authority, if I may put it. So when a person comes on stage and cracks 2, 3, 4 jokes, people say, this is a comedian, go. Now, what that does, when the person runs out of their initial comedy, then they burn out. And then they will invest in under-the-belt jokes, which they know anytime you crack, anybody will laugh. I mean, any joke about a lodge, about, will always be funny at any space.
As long as it's under the belt.
So it's the escape route for somebody to survive as a comedian. Now, what that has done, it then gives the comedy industry, it becomes the weaker link.
That bad picture.
Yes, of the industry. Yes, but I should say the opportunities are there. We see comedians being brand ambassadors of products, Madrat and Chico, Salvador, Champamirin, Emma Napoleon. Very many of them, and can see people, they are coming out. Companies are now believing in them. And I also like the fact that now we also have to file our annual returns to the Uganda Revenue Authority, meaning that once the ombudsman picks interest in what you're doing, then it's qualified as an alternative form of entertainment into the industry.
I think we should have the part 2 of Pablo. Oh man, the stories, I feel like I'm still burning. I know too much questions right on my fingertips. These are the last questions and I want you to answer them in just 2 minutes. How has social media, what has been the effects of social media to comedy, and what is it that you're cooking?
I think for me, what social media has worked for the comedians, especially during the lockdown. Whoever knew that we would perform for people online, we had to go and perform for people on Zoom to make ends meet. It has really, we have, people have now followings and they have people subscribing, and then we have, they have commercialized their spaces, so which is helping them to earn an extra income as comedians. I mean, look at TikTok. It has given birth to people who we least expected to be funny.
Out of nowhere.
And so and also what this has done, it has helped the comedians not to remain in their comfort zone, to come out and say, well, the competition is really out there.
Stiff.
Yeah, how best can we continue doing what we do best? So for me, I do believe that's what social media has done for us. It has helped us, get spaces. And what am I up to lately?
What are you up to?
First of all, I want to thank CTV. CTV, thank you so much. If you're watching CTV, please don't blink. They've supported me. I have a show called Ensheko.
Ensheko.
Yeah, it's
a.
We are trying to promote Bubu. Build Uganda.
By Uganda.
And so we felt that there's a certain audience that wasn't being attended to, and that's the Runyakitara. So we are doing jokes in Runyakitara, and the catchphrase is English stops at the gate.
Okay.
So we have been doing it for the last 5 months, every last Friday of the month, and we have seen it grow.
The last time I was there, I had to drink in 3 days. Never left me the same.
You get to meet. It strengthens the bond from people in Western Uganda, and I felt that was something that was worth doing. And I like the fact that there are people who have come out, comedians that we have mentored, who can do absolutely that. But what I'm up to right now.
In a minute.
Yes, in children. I've started the Pablo Kids Mentorship Programs. I want to mentor children. I want to have a right direction, because they are the future. They are the future. The teenagers, komsa, but the children are what we should invest in, give our time, and do what children want. And I'm now also planning my 20-year celebration come October next year, God willing.
Tujitwala Rugogo, manyi Rugogo kuget over yatawuse.
Unfortunately, yomanyi comedy tenyumira wabweru.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an intimate form of art. You have to be indoor. If outside, webuuza lwaki abayimba gamba sibawulira kubanga abantu babeereri ate bya comedy bya mboozi.
Pablo, our time is up. So Serena, get ready. Serena njikuwadde Pablo.
Yes, and maybe you can also look out my YouTube channel,
okay.
Pablo Comedian Uganda. Subscribe. Get to watch what is there. I'll tell you everything about nothing, I promise that. And my Twitter handle is Pablo Chimuli, and Instagram is Pablo Chimuli. Like, subscribe, and share with a friend. All
right, ladies and gentlemen, time has really been not on our side. Maybe we shall have part 2 of Pablo, but it's been amazing chilling and hanging out with Pablo. Thanks for coming through, man.
The pleasure is mine. I wish you the very best. Yeah,
man.
May you live to see the Dead Sea resurrect.
Till tomorrow.